Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. What are viewers expecting from Diane when she discovers Jack's betrayal? The plot explodes with Diane's revenge plan when she realizes Jack's treacherous nature. What will she do with her upcoming revenge plan against Jack? Diane publicly files for divorce and destroys Jack's reputation. Diane, in a fit of rage and a deep sense of betrayal, will publicly file for divorce from Jack, bringing the matter to the media. She will accuse Jack of infidelity despite his explanation of being drugged, aiming to destroy his reputation and standing in Jabot and Genoa City society. There are marriages that do not collapse in a single moment, but instead fall apart like a building cracks from within, waiting for only one final shock to bring everything down. For Diane, that final shock was not simply the image of Jack being entangled with Patty. What truly made her explode was not just the surface event itself, but the humiliation beneath it, the sense of betrayal, the feeling that she had become the last person to know the truth in her own life. She had once believed that after so many upheavals, so much suspicion, pain, collapse, and after all the time she had to fight just to be accepted, she had finally secured a place no one could take away from her. She had believed the man standing beside her understood the value of loyalty, understood the cost of betrayal, and understood better than anyone how one staying in a private life could destroy everything in a city like Genoa City. But because Diane understood Jack so well, this fall hit with a force that made it impossible to forgive. She did not see it as an accident. She refused to accept that it was only a moment of lost control. In Diane's eyes, a man could allow himself to end up in that situation, for any reason at all, had already ruined the most sacred thing between them, trust. And once trust had been contaminated, every explanation sounded like a desperate plea arriving far too late. The most dangerous thing about Diane was never when she cried, but when she reached the point where she could no longer want to cry at all. When pain passes the limit of what the heart can endure, it no longer appears as weakness. It turns into a cold, deliberate clarity. Diane began to look at everything with different eyes. She no longer saw Jack as the husband she loved, but as a symbol that had betrayed the image she had spent years building. Jack had always been viewed as the model Abbott man, the face of dignity, honor, and that old-fashioned morality that Genoa City's elite both respected and proudly invoked. That was exactly why Diane's fury burned even deeper. She did not just feel that her heart had been pierced. She felt that she had helped protect a false legend. She had stood beside Jack, defended him, preserved that home, believed in the promise of rebuilding their life after so many storms. And in return, she was handed a truth so humiliating that everything she had endured now felt like a cruel joke. That humiliation, to Diane, could not be healed with an apology. From that moment on, this marriage was no longer a private matter between two people. In the mind of a woman being consumed by rage, Diane no longer wanted Jack to keep even one fragment of the spotless image he had relied on for so long. If she had to carry that shame alone, if she had to be looked at with pity, then Jack had to feel what it was like to be exposed, judged, and dragged down from the safe pedestal where he had stood for years. This was not just revenge. To Diane, it was the only way to restore some balance to the scale of suffering. Because in her mind at that point, forgiveness was no longer noble. It was self-betrayal. Silence was no longer grace. It was collaboration in helping Jack preserve his reputation while she quietly carried the disgrace. That was why Diane filed for divorce publicly, and that decision was not made in a passing emotional outburst, but in a rage that had hardened into willpower. She did not choose to shut the door and settle it quietly. She did not want to become the wife who suffered in silence while her husband continued walking through society wearing the face of a wounded, respectable man. She deliberately pushed the scandal into the light, as if she wanted to strip away every layer of glory that had protected Jack for years. What could have remained a private separation was turned into a public disaster, not only because Diane wanted to hurt Jack, but because she wanted all of Genoa City to see the truth she believed could not be buried under excuses. She chose to file for divorce openly as a declaration that she would not continue playing the role of the woman who protected a man who had disappointed her beyond repair. I think that is what makes the storyline far more gripping than an ordinary cheating scandal. It is not just about a marriage breaking apart. It is about the way a wounded woman turns her pain into a weapon, and the way a man long accustomed to standing tall suddenly feels both his dignity and his private life splintering beneath him at the same time. What lingers with me most is not only the question of how Diane will destroy Jack, but the sense that both of them are now moving toward a point of no return. Diane may be able to bring Jack down, but the price is that she must keep living on anger as though it were fuel. Jack may keep fighting to save his career and his name, but the harder he fights, the more he is forced to look at the fact that the woman he loves no longer believes him. That is the kind of tragedy Y&R does so well. Elegance on the surface, but underneath it, the quiet collapse of trust, something that once broken cannot easily be repaired by love, status, or explanation. And honestly, that bitterness is what makes Diane and Jack's story so compelling, because it reminds us that sometimes the cruelest part is not the betrayal itself, but the moment afterward, when two people may still love each other in some broken way, yet are no longer clean enough inside to find their way back.